Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Redefining Balance for a Working Moms podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Stemmerman, and I am so glad that you are here to hang out with me today because today we're talking about joy and fun. I know this is not a topic we talk about often, but it is one of the 8 areas of life that as working moms, we're trying to balance. It's one of the 8 areas of life that we teach about here at Your Life Rocks. So why is it so hard to talk about? I think because fun is one of those words that we all want, but we don't necessarily know how to get. And if you're like me, I love what I do for work. I love being around my kids. I love cleaning my house. I know that makes me a bit of a weirdo, but it's the truth of it. I actually like to clean and organize. It's a stress reliever for me. So when we think about fun in a different way, sometimes we just kind of get like a mental block on what that could actually look like. But today, and the special guest that I have lined up for us to be talking about, we're really going to be talking about finding joy in a different way through movement. I know, even if you're not someone who loves working out, you're going to love everything that we're going to be talking about in this episode because, like always, it's very practical how you can work in joy and movement and really connecting with who God created you to be in your busy life. Even with your busy schedule, you can definitely do this. Now, if you've been listening to the show for a while, if I could just ask a huge favor, if you would go onto wherever you're listening to this podcast at and leave a review. It does help other working moms just like you find this show and definitely helps us reach and grow a new audience, which is the whole reason why I do the podcast, is to help encourage and provide tips and inspiration to other working moms just like you, just like me. And if you are newer to the show, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming guests or any of our back catalog, which, by the way, you can find all over on YouTube, separated into the 8 areas of life, meaning that this episode will go under the category of friends and fun. So if you're thinking, how can I have more fun in my life? There's a whole playlist of other experts giving you advice in this particular area. And same is true if you're looking for advice on faith, on marriage, parenting, career, health, home, finances. They are all there on YouTube. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the guest that we have on today. Wendy Ng is a dance and movement coach who guides women to live consciously and confidently using mindful movement and dance through her signature program, Moving into Joy. Now, we talk about dance, but if you are like, I am not a dancer, totally okay. She's got some tips for all of us and how we can find this joy through movement. Because really, Wendy knows exactly what she's talking about. She has been trained in kinesiology, all kinds of martial arts, kickboxing, yoga, dance, you name it. And she's worked for over 10 years as an occupational therapist. And she's used that experience and combined it with her coaching experience to really help women connect with themselves, their bodies, so that they can be more strategic in their thinking, grow in confidence, and so much more. You're going to love our conversation with Wendy. She's also a mom, so she totally knows what it's like to try to work this kind of stuff into a busy life when you're raising kids. So without further ado, let's get into my interview and conversation with Wendy. Wendy, welcome to Redefining Balance podcast. I am so beyond excited to be talking about fun and joy and movement and all of the things, because I think that this is such an important topic that doesn't get enough attention. But before we get into all of your tips on how we can make this happen for ourselves, share with our audience a little bit more about who you are.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here, Jenny. I'm excited to be here. So a little bit about myself. I'm a mama of 3 kiddos, young kiddos. I work as an occupational therapist, and then I now work as a dance and movement coach as well, because I decided that as women, we need to have a way of redefining who we are, how we live our lives, because the more that we can tap into being ourselves, being very true to ourselves, and being very confident about that, the more that we can affect change and spread that joy and brightness into lives of our family, into our work communities, and to our bigger community around us, and share a brighter, bigger future with everyone.
I love so much what you do because it is so unique. I think that there's a lot of women out there that coach women, that, work with women in a number of different ways to grow either in their career or just to help them with their mindset or with their health but you're really kind of combining the mindset piece with movement, which I think is
Hmm.
so unique. And I love what
Thank
you
you.
do because it really is about joy. And, when we think about
Yes.
joy, it's like we all want more joy in our life. And when we talk about the 8 different areas of life here at Your Life Rocks, one of the areas is fun. And
Mhm.
I know for myself as a working mom, that's the hardest area for me because I'm like, well, I like my work. Does that count? I like hanging out with my kids. Does that count? But
Mhm.
really, when we think about fun and we think about joy, everyone wants joy. Fun feels like it's really hard because I think there's like a different energy about it, between the two, which I think is kind of interesting. But really, when we talk about movement and fun, sometimes I
Mhm.
think, and I even think for myself sometimes, because I don't love working out. I love being
Mhm.
active and like working around the house or always doing something, but I don't consider myself an athlete by any means. And so when I
Mhm.
think about joy or fun and movement, I kind of think like maybe that's not for me. It might just be for like an athlete or someone who loves working out. Do you think that that's the case?
Yeah, I totally agree with you that joy in our physical self and connecting with movement does not always mean exercise. And actually, I took my undergraduate in kinesiology. I studied movement. And honestly, I was the klutziest little kid. I'm always, and even as an adult, I'm like bumping into things. I would not consider myself an athlete. I was never good at sports, but I was a dancer. But honestly, people see me now and they say, wow, you're so graceful. You move so well. But it was training, honestly. I never saw myself as the most graceful dancer because it was hard for me to do that. But over the years of developing it, I got a better sense of myself and how my body works, what works well for me. And I developed that joy of movement by finding the right fit. So what I would
Mm,
say to women is that no, you don't have to love exercise. You don't have to love working out. You don't have to be athletic. But what I want women to really connect with is what feels good in your body, what feels good for you. Figure that piece out and just do more of that because
mm.
that is what's going to be more enjoyable, be fun for you to do, and bring you joy. Because as you develop more awareness in your own self and body, your body is what allows you to do everything in this world, right? It's like kind of it carries your spirit around. It carries your purpose around and allows you to execute on the things that you're passionate about. So the more connected you can be and aware of your own capabilities in your physical body, the more you can execute out and do the things that are so important to you and do them even better.
That's so good. And I think too, there's got to be some kind of a connection. I mean, obviously, we know this just from basic schooling or anytime that you think, oh, I want to start working out. So I should start
Yeah.
researching this a little bit. But there is definitely like when you move, your body releases different hormones, that make you
Hmm.
feel good. And because I hate working out, but when I'm stressed out, I can't sit still. Like I have to
Hmm.
either, I'm a stress cleaner or stress organizer. Like if I'm
Oh,
having a
that's me
bad
too.
day, I'm like out in the yard doing stuff or cleaning out a closet or doing something because, I feel like I need to be doing something, but it also, I think that there's
Hmm.
a physical payoff from that too.
Yeah, there is. Um, I always like to make this example to kids because our bodies were really designed and created for movement. Schooling and work, it tells you otherwise, right? Because we're trained to sit for long periods of time and pay attention and focus and do our work. But really, we're designed for movement. You look at little babies, like a normal, developmentally appropriate child, they're physically moving in their space, looking and exploring, and they cannot help themselves but move and develop those skills. And so as you get older, how that translates is that we're not meant to sit still. We're meant to be creative using our body, right? So being able to move well and do things well with our physical body is just an extension of who you are. And so you just need to find the right type of movement that makes you want to do more of it. It doesn't have to be a specific exercise.
I love it. And you have some very specific tips because this is the thing I love about interviewing experts like you on this show is that we have everything very practical. Like, how do we actually do this, right? How do we
Yeah.
make this work into our busy life? Because one of the things I love about your teaching is that you really talk about using movement to connect with your internal compass, to find that
Hmm.
joy, that peace, which, when we're talking about fun, it really is kind of the same thing, right? Where it's, even though it's a different kind of energy, it's about restoration from the inside out and
Hmm.
reconnecting and slowing down a little bit. So, talk to us a little bit about how we can make this work. I know you kind of talk a lot about tuning in and really recognizing what we need. And talk to us
Hmm.
a little bit about that because I think that this is such an important piece of connecting with what God designed us to do.
Yes. So number one thing, as I actually moved through my journey of personal development, what I found is the thing is I kept looking for answers outside of myself. I would ask other people's opinions. I would say, "Hey, what should I do in this situation? I need, to figure something out," and looking externally to myself. But when I really started working with a coach, what I found is all the work that I was doing was trying to dig deeper into what I wanted to feel in my life, what I needed for myself to feel better. And so that awareness was all internal. And so the more work that I did on that, the more I dived deeper into what I wanted, what I needed, how I wanted to feel, how I wanted to show up in the world. All of a sudden, I started feeling better in my life. And so everything else external to me stayed the same. So what I now share with women is that that is the biggest piece that you need to do is to dive deeper into what you want. We're so used to looking for a quick external fix. We're so used to other people suggesting things for us to do, right? Guiding us. You had your parents and then your teachers as you're growing up. And then you hit a point in your life that all of a sudden you find yourself, you need to be the leader in your life. And so what that looks like is you need to start asking yourself as the leader, well, what do I need to do now? What do I want? And build your own internal compass of what you need to do and what your world and your life needs to look like. And that's the biggest shift that I made in my life and what I share with other women, because the more you can connect in with that, the stronger and more confident you come out in all areas of your life.
I so love what you're talking about right now because I feel like this is where I just lately, I feel like this is where the spirit's been like really leading me personally is to look
Hmm.
towards him inside of me for
Hmm.
what needs to be like in the world that I'm creating around me, really looking
Hmm.
for guidance within versus looking for guidance without. Because just like you were saying, as we're growing up, we're always told. And then as adults, we're like, well, I still feel like someone needs to tell me. So then we look to social
Hmm.
media or we look to
Yes.
the comparison game to figure out like, what am I supposed to be doing with my life? How am I supposed to be raising my kids or eating dinner or how is my house supposed to be decorated? Like we look so
Yeah.
external for guides on all of those
Hmm.
things when really God kind of has given us a roadmap and we know like we're all different on the way that we want to be living our life and it doesn't have to be the same
Hmm.
as the person next to us and there's no shame in that. And so I love
Yes.
that you kind of bring that into this because I think that that is truly where joy comes from when you're living authentically with the way that God designed you to be, not how he designed some person that you follow on Instagram to be, right?
Yes. It's hard to remember that sometimes because you're so right. There's so much information out there now and so many people we can compare ourselves to. And what I would say is that it's great to get inspired by some of the things that other people do, but you need to have faith that you have the answers in yourself and that definitely God is there to give you those answers within if you just slow down and pay attention.
Okay, so this brings me to my next question because I think it's so much easier to say than to do. To like, I
Yes.
think we all inherently know, like, yeah, I don't want to do that. But then if we're like, just okay, so I've done this so many times. I'm like, okay, God, what do you want me to do? And it's just like awkward silence. So how do we find that
Yeah.
connection? Like, what do we need to do to find this true sense of joy? Okay, I had to interrupt this episode to ask you a question. How are you implementing what you are learning from this show? I mean, it's really great that you're investing in yourself to learn how to grow in each area of your life, but I want you to really apply these things so that you can reap the benefits of a more balanced life. If you're not sure how to begin, I want to invite you to join Life Balance Membership. Inside the membership, you'll find courses to help you create the habits that allow you to move forward with what you are learning. Plus, you'll have resources for each area of your life to help you take the guesswork out of figuring out how to create balance for yourself. For example, we have a full career guide that guides you through annual, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily routines to help you reach your career goals. It's actually what to do, how to start your work day, wrap up your work week, type checklists, and more. And that's just one area of life and one resource in it. Plus, you'll get access to the membership community and our member-exclusive podcast episodes where we take things to the next level in your self-coaching, like how to set boundaries and what to do when you struggle to make a new habit stick. You can try it for free for 7 days, which is the perfect amount of time, by the way, to take the 7-day Clear the Chaos course. It's an excellent place to start. Just upgrade inside the Your Life Rocks app or go to lifebalancemembership.com to learn more. Oh, and members save money on things like our 12-week program, Life Balance Method, and the Life Balance Planner, and so much more. So join inside the app or go to lifebalancemembership.com.
Well, because you're created for movement, what I teach women, I've tried this before. I've tried sitting still and meditating. Sometimes it works. But more often than not, I'm a go-getter. I like to move. I like to be busy. And I find that in stillness, sometimes it's like, meh, nothing happens. But if I'm moving, say even, you put on some music and you start moving to the music and then you start feeling into your body and feeling, where do you have tension? What feels good? And that is when, as you start moving, you connect more with yourself. That's when your thoughts can kind of calm down and you can tune into really what you're thinking and wanting and needing instead of sitting still. Because sometimes nothing happens because nothing's happening because you're not really connecting. You're just trying and hoping for your thoughts to still. But there's a different way of doing it. You don't always have to sit still to do that.
I like it. So it's kind of like you're putting out energy to get energy moving, which I think is incredible. So talk to me a little bit about what we should be doing. Because as you were talking, I was like, you know what? You're so right. Like I get so much more out of my time with God when I go on prayer walks than if I'm just trying to sit in a quiet space. Like that, I think that is so true for me. But talk to us a little bit about what that should look like. So I know you talk a lot about breath but then at the same time, I'm thinking music, movement, dancing. So how does all of that kind of work together?
Well, what I like to do is I have a playlist for myself for different types of energy that I want to create in my life, right? So sometimes you need to focus and you need to slow things down and tune in. So I might have a playlist of more slow music, things that are calming. And in that moment, what I would do is do more stretching movements, things that I have to breathe deeply, move slowly, bring my energy level down and help me concentrate or listen in. And other times you might find that maybe you're feeling tired. It's been a long day. You've maybe had a lot on the go with your kids and you need to continue because they still need you. So maybe what you need to do is up your energy level. And how you do that and how you shift that is put on some music that's a little bit more high energy, high vibing, fast pace. And you want to do more quick, rhythmical kind of movements and things that you actually have to use big muscle groups so that you're moving your whole body, you're pumping in your legs and your arms and things, because that will start creating and releasing different types of hormones in your bodies that will help increase your energy level and help you match the energy that you need for the activity that you're doing.
Okay. That's really good. So, because when you're talking sometimes about connecting with movement and breath, I really think a lot about because I did dance when I was growing up. So I think about the ballet training, where it's slow movements, but really it's about kind of thinking a little bit more about what you want to be creating or kind of how you're already feeling, right?
Yeah, because you can really shift your energy and shift your state of being through movement. And actually, different types of movement will affect your sensory and nervous system differently.
Okay. I like this. So how do we Because when we were first talking, right, we were talking about connecting and listening to God and kind of using this to kind of, I don't know, like have a different thoughts or to start moving our mindset in a different direction, right? But
Hmm.
then like when you're talking about like energy and fast-paced movements, I think about my brain not really working at that point. So how do we create some space to really be able to have those connections? Is it kind of like once we're done with movement, then start thinking a different way, or does it all kind of connect at the same time?
Can connect at the same time. And what I would say is that it's the awareness piece, is checking in with yourself in the moment, is like, well, what do I need right now? Do I need more stillness and connection? Or do I need to have more energy and being and doing? And so being very aware of what your body needs and what your mind needs, and being able to use the correct strategy in that moment, whether it is a slower down kind of energy and movement, or whether it is to pick things up and increase your energy for the things that you're needing to do.
So this is where I think it's really critical because sometimes I think as busy women, everything goes onto a
Hmm.
to-do list, you know? And so
Yeah.
as you're talking, I'm like thinking, okay, where can I fit that in my day? How's that going to look? Where's it going to? So then it becomes like a check mark, you know, that you've done it off. But you really kind of, in looking at some of the other things that you have done and that you teach about, it really is about
Mhm.
creating more of a space versus a check it off, get it done kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Because that's really where I don't want to use the word magic because we're talking about magic and energy and it can seem very woo woo. And I'm totally not into woo woo stuff. But, I think that there is, it's kind of like when you want to hear from God or you really want to be able to connect with him, you have to make some space in order to do that, right? It's not like, okay, God, I got
Hmm.
30 seconds for you today. So what are you going
Hmm.
to do? So talk to us about how we can make this not just a check done. I moved my body, I breathed, on to the next thing.
Hmm. I think it's that it comes back to the awareness piece and knowing that you do have to leave room, some gaps in your schedule, in your life for time for yourself. And I think as busy women, as you know, we've got our families to deal with, we've got our kids, we've got our career, we fit so much onto our plate. It's a matter of looking at your capacity and what do you want in your life? How do you want to feel? And if you want to feel like you have more space and breathing room and thinking room, you need to create that space, not only in your mind and with your body, but in your to do list sometimes, is that you've actually got to create that space for yourself. So you talk about like, okay, I feel like I've only got 30 seconds to tune in and do this. Well, start there. And then if you need and you know you need more space, well, where can you create that space in your life for it? Whether it is you wake up 5 or 10 minutes earlier in the morning to start giving yourself that space, whether you actually give yourself a lunch break and that
Shocking.
downtime, like you actually put it on your schedule. I need a lunch break. Wow. Or maybe you wind your day down, your kids are in bed, and instead of getting to the dishes or doing something that needs to, it's always going to be there. The dishes are going to be there. The laundry is always going to be there. But creating that 5 or 10 minutes of space of downtime for yourself to think and breathe and plan how you want to feel, what you need to do to feel that way, and put it into your schedule. Because space doesn't just happen. You need to create it. You need to mindfully place it there in your life. Just like you mindfully created all the other things in your life, right? You wanted a relationship. You went out and concertedly, were open to welcoming that relationship into your life. You wanted to have kids. You concertedly and mindfully, put that intention out and that. And so then you opened up that space for those children to come into your life. So the same thing is that if you want to develop more awareness, more space in your life, and more connection with yourself, you need to intentionally create that space for yourself.
Yeah, and again, I hate using some of these words because it just seems very like new agey, but really I
Hmm.
think a lot of it comes down to giving yourself permission to have that time and to take the time.
Yes.
And even as silly as this sounds, like I said, I grew up dancing and in high school I
Hmm.
danced competitively and I
Hmm.
loved it. It like brought me so much joy. But then as an
Yeah.
adult, like who am I to be a dancer? Like I'm a busy woman. I'm a mom. I'm, somewhat out of shape, not having the dancer's body that I used to have. And so,
Yeah.
kind of have this mindset of like, who am I to do that? And this is not who I am. But recently in the last, I don't know, maybe 5 years or so, I've
Hmm.
given myself permission just to dance around the house when I'm cleaning or cooking
Yes.
dinner or dancing with my kids. Cause it was one thing when they were little, and they were like
Hmm.
3 and you're just kind of, being silly with them. But my kids are
Hmm.
now 11 and 15 and I get pride and joy out of embarrassing them by dancing around the house now. But it's giving yourself permission to just be silly and to move and to do the things without judging yourself or fear of other people judging you too.
Yeah. Interesting that you say that. I went out tobogganing with my kids yesterday and they wanted to play on the playground. So I joined them. We like got on there. I got on the slide. We were playing. And later, as we were leaving the park and I was walking up the hill with my kids, my daughter, she's 7, she's like, Mommy, did you hear that? Those people over there, they were like, look at those kids over there. And they were pointing at the 3 of us. They think you're a kid. And so I'm like, wow, I achieved what I wanted to. I wanted to have some fun and bring some joy in my life. And what that meant to me was just enjoying myself, not caring what other people thought I should or shouldn't be doing as an adult at the park. I'm going to go out and do the things that I love and what brings me joy. And that is playing with my kids and just getting in there and moving along with them and playing. Like you said, sometimes it can feel silly if you're not used to doing it, right? Because as an adult, you're like, oh, I have to be serious. I have to do these things. I have to be responsible. But keep in mind that the more that you can show your kids, be the example that it doesn't matter at what age you are. Joy and fun should still be a part of your life. And it can still be a part of your life because, yeah, there's times to be serious, but there's times to enjoy. That's part of the gift from God is to enjoy our time on earth and bring joy to other people. And how do we do that if we don't bring joy into our own life?
Oh, so good. So, so good.
Mhm.
I love that. I love that. So, talk to us about any other parting thoughts that you have on how we can really kind of take this idea of connection and movement, creating more joy in our life, giving ourselves permission, fitting it into like a already super busy schedule. I know that's like, okay, Wendy, solve all of our problems. What's your last tip for us?
Starts with knowing really clearly how you want to feel. And so if you want to feel more joy in your life, then set that intention and start creating it 5 minutes at a time, right? If you've got even 30 seconds, but start there. It doesn't have to be like a huge thing that you're like, okay, I have to create this in my schedule. Like, no, just find the small moments in your life and start enjoying yourself more. Start doing the things that feel good to you, even if it is for 5 minutes. And the more you give yourself permission to do that, and the more you start creating that in your life, you're going to find yourself doing it more and more. And it's going to grow from there.
I love it. So good. I am all
Mhm.
about this finding more joy and fun in my life through movement.
Yes.
I'm so glad that you were on here to encourage us and give us some great practical tips. Now, if people are like, okay, I need more of Wendy because this is an area I really struggle with, how can they
Mhm.
connect you? Where can they find you online? All of that good stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Simply Naturally Wendy. You can also find me on my website at thewendying.com. So WENDYNG.com. And you can I have a 5 minute morning routine that I started doing probably a year or two ago. Wake up, instead of rolling out of bed when my kids are calling me, I roll out of bed and I give myself a morning routine, stretching, movement, breathing, water. And you can grab that, start doing it, make it your own, and ease into your day, transitioning instead from sleepiness to wakefulness through movement so that you're ready for whatever your day throws at you.
I love that. And they can just find that right on your website.
Yeah, that's right there on
Beautiful.
the homepage. Yeah.
Beautiful. And we will link to that in the show description notes as well. Wendy, thank you so much for coming on and for sharing with us. And I'm just so glad that God has you on this path of really helping other women through all of the things that you've experienced in life and working it all into such a great gift. So thank you so much for sharing that with the world.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure being here with you.
Hey, just because the episode's over doesn't mean we have to stop hanging out. Head on over to Instagram and follow me there. You can find me at your.life.rocks. Or if you're more of a Facebook kind of girl, join our community of working Christian moms just like you. You can search Your Life Rocks over on Facebook and connect with us there. And if you're ready to truly create lasting balance and get results in your life, maybe it's time for you to join Life Balance Membership. Download the Your Life Rocks app in iTunes or in Google Play. You can upgrade to the membership right inside the app. And if you're looking for more resources to help you create more balance, head on over to yourliferocks.com.